News Weekly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 192 in year 4. And if my voice sounds like shit, it's because I've been doing a lot of editing and voice work lately. So it is groggy and scratchy. How's your day going, Clay?
Pretty good. I woke up a little late, but that's because I stayed up late and I finally beat Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Okay.
Yeah, I was my brother had beaten it the day before, and he's like, "Yeah, I think you're pretty close to it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I was like, "Oh yeah, I can definitely feel like this is the ending. Let me go ahead and start finishing it." And he
Yeah.
came in, and he's like, "Yeah, you're pretty close to beating it. You still have about like 4 or 5 hours left." I was like, "That's not close to beating it. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?" And so, of course, anybody who is watching this on YouTube, you notice that we put gameplay on top of our podcast or whatever. So I record every session that I play, and
Mm-hmm.
every so often I would look down at the recording time. It's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 4 hours,
Yeah.
4.5 hours. I'm like, oh my god, this is horrible. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Very strong story, I will say. I feel like it's a lot better than the first one, and now I just have to wait until the next game that comes out. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I was the gameplay we have right now should be Resident Evil, which was my first playthrough of the game. I've since ran through the game again, which is fun. But I plan on doing a. I looked at it, and I looked at this like a week or so ago, so it's probably already been beaten. But the runtime for the fastest in the world for PlayStation 5 was 2 hours and 5 minutes, and I was like, I could beat that. But I don't know, like the speedrun rules are really weird when you look into those things because sometimes, like, no, you need to, like, you can't have any whatever. I don't know. I don't know if it's just the fastest to beat the game because, like, it would be really weird if they didn't include, like, oh, you can't use the bazooka. That's cheating. I'm like, y'all use glitches. Like, that makes
Wait,
no
the
sense.
bazooka is not a part of the speed run?
Well, I don't know. I'm just
Okay,
saying, like, I
okay,
don't
okay.
know if there's weird rules when it comes to speedrunning. You know what I mean? I would assume that's totally fine. So, because it's in the game. I
Yeah,
was
for
like, y'all
sure.
use glitches all the time for games in speedruns. So, like, why wouldn't that count?
Why would a in purchase like
Yeah. So
mechanic not be available for a speed run? That would
yeah,
be
I'm not a
stupid.
speedrunner, so I don't know. I mean, I could be talking out of my ass, but like I feel like I could beat the game under 2 hours with the bazooka because like it's just so fast. Like it kills all the cutscenes so fast. You know what I mean?
And like you said, like one big thing that you would have to remember is like the puzzles and stuff. That's gonna be your hardest thing.
Yeah. And I have definitely on the second playthrough, I was trying to remember some of them and I just forget. Like, and is it considered cheating if you have them written down?
See,
You know?
again, I'm not a speedrunner, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Like I'm so curious if like they're like, you have it on paper, what's this cheat? I was
Like,
like,
because guys,
why
you
would it
need to
matter? Yeah.
for anybody who is nowhere near our age, you need to
Yeah.
remember we used to have to go to a GameStop or a Target or a Walmart and buy these really thick
Yeah.
video game guides. Or if we had cable, you watch G4
Yeah.
and watch like either Attack the Show or Cheaters or stuff like
Mhm.
that to get tips on your video gaming. Now
Yeah.
it's like the internet is vast, and so you have
Yeah,
so
you have
many other options.
YouTubers showing you how to do everything. You
Yeah.
want to learn a glitch? Here's a video on it. You know, we didn't have that. It's like if you saw it on G4, you were like, "Oh shit, how'd they do that?" And then also we didn't have DVR at that time, so if you didn't pay attention, like you just didn't know how to do it. So it's just like fuck.
Hmm.
So yeah, pretty crazy shit. But yeah, I'm just curious. I want to try that on stream, and I just personally want to get under 2 hours, but it'd be kind of cool to get a speedrun record.
That would be
So
pretty cool.
that'd be kind of cool. But anyways, that has nothing to do with Batman, unless somebody's speedrunning Batman Arkham Knight or something. But today we're gonna be talking about a few things. It looks like Mr. Nicholas Holt once again is trying to get himself a DC role because he auditions for everything and gets nothing, it seems like.
See, again, it's this mentality, and it's so odd. Okay, so uh Juice definitely had this at one point. I think we agree more so with Gunn's take on it, but superhero fatigue. It's
Mm-hmm.
this idea that superhero movies have taken over the market. We're seeing it everywhere. They're boring, blah, 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 blah. But the
Yeah.
boring part is what Gunn is talking about. The story is what's being fatigued, not
Mm-hmm.
the hero genre.
Yeah.
So, with Holt jumping on this genre, I think he just really wants a really big payday because
Yeah.
I think he eventually wants to do what Pattinson was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Was he was like, hey, I need one good franchise to hold me over, do the projects that I want to do,
Yeah.
and then get my name known enough to do a really big project so that way I'm just known all around, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's what Holt is trying to do.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not that mentality doesn't necessarily work for everybody because where's Taylor Lautner? He was in the same franchise with Robert Pattinson and Kirsten Stewart,
That's
you know?
true. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, granted, I think Nicholas Hoult is a better actor than Taylor Lautner. Taylor
Yes, and
Lautner was a pretty boy, so
I was gonna say, out of the two, I've heard Pattinson has a lot of great performances under his belt,
yeah,
and same thing with Stewart. She surprisingly took a break from acting and then came back with a lot of bangers. Apparently,
yeah.
um, Lautner, like I didn't think he was the greatest actor, like
No,
in
he
a
wasn't.
lot of the things he was in, and then so he became like a spoof character. I think he was in one of those like Valentine's Day movies or whatever,
Yeah.
um, as like a cameo, as a joke or whatever. But Holt, I think he has a lot of gumption to
Hmm.
go after these kinds of roles, and the reason why we're talking about him is because, of course, he was the second runner-up for Matt Reeves, the Batman.
Yeah.
And so he has now jumped on to Superman Legacy. A lot of people pinned him for Superman, but in fact, he's actually apparently the only
Hmm.
front runner for Lex Luthor.
So we should clarify that there are multiple reports saying that he's up for both roles.
Yes, yes.
So
There's a report saying that he's up for both roles. I will say uh Juice doesn't really follow a whole lot of scoopers, so
no.
that way he doesn't like get spoiled on things. I'm the kind of person that feels like they need to know everything, so I
Hmm.
follow a lot of scoopers. A lot of like we over at Twitter, we call them the scooper wars because we just like to see these scoopers like fight, and it's hilarious to
Hmm.
see who can get one over on each other. And a lot more are leaning and saying that he's in the forerunning for Luther.
Okay.
Um, and I think that it would be an interesting role. It would be a very young Luther, to be
Yeah.
honest, like a young looking Luther. Because
Hmm.
I actually don't know. I think Holt and Pattinson are around the same age, so
Yeah, they got to
you
be in
know,
their 30s because I mean he was in
mid to
X-Men, so
yeah, yeah.
because he was Beast for nobody that remembers that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess anybody could be Luther if you shave their head, but it's I don't see Luther when I see him, but I also don't see Superman. So
So this for of course we don't share like our actual video here, but I'm gonna share my screen,
mhm.
Juice, and I'm gonna show you the person who is apparently in the forerunning for Superman.
Yeah, I don't know who this
Is
kid is.
this individual right next to Holt? His name is David Cronsweet.
Uh-huh.
Um, I
The
don't know.
photo that you're showing me is terrible. The one under it next to Superman is better.
Yes. So let me actually go
Sorry,
back to
guys.
this.
There's one photo that this thumbnail used where he looks like an AI generated character, but there's a better photo where he actually has like the Superman swoop in the hair that
Yeah,
looks
he has a
really
little bit
good.
of the curl, but see, I didn't want to choose this one
Uh-huh.
specifically for a lot of conversation on Twitter is basically saying, "Oh, so Gunn didn't want Cavill, he just wanted somebody who looked like a younger Cavill." And this photo is being used as reference as this dude is basically a younger Cavill.
Mm, that would be hilarious. I would love that. I would just want to lick the tears of all the Zack Snyder fans that are crying about it. With the what's going on with the Cavill stuff, like, look, man, I don't see him like he's not lining up a lot of roles, right? Like he's not like I think Ben Affleck gets more work than he does. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like there's got to be something with Cavill we don't know. Like, are the rumors of him being a diva real? Or do people not think he's a good actor? Like,
I
oh,
remember back in the day because he had only a few roles under his belt
mhm,
before Superman. Of
yeah,
course, very famously, a very young Cavill was in The Count of Monte Cristo.
mhm,
And then he showed up in this movie like literally a year before Superman called The Immortals. He was not a great actor in
yeah,
that movie. He also did one movie at one point with Bruce Willis. I heard that wasn't a great movie either. I think honestly, I believe the being a diva to a
mhm,
certain extent. I think he is passionate about the roles that he gets, and he might go a little too far, you know?
yeah,
Of course, like famously with him in The Witcher, he knows the source material. He is like basically telling the writers what to do and what to say
yeah,
within the scripts. And that's not necessarily an actor's job. I know that, there's a lot of relationships within movies and TV shows where that is great,
mhm,
but I don't think a lot of people really appreciate that when it's like, oh, well, I'm the writer and you're just like destroying my work kind of
yeah,
thing, you know?
yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, I'm curious, but yeah, it's funny. I mean, he does kind of look like a younger Cavill there, but it is what it is. I am curious to see if he'll get it. I don't know this person at all. I don't
Yeah.
know what they've been in. I've never seen anything, but I kind of expect that for. I mean, well, I'm not going to say the majority of the DCU because I think if you've seen Guardians, we're going to see a lot of those actors in these movies.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, well, except for what's his face that died in Suicide Squad already. Michael Rooker.
Oh, yeah.
But because James Gunn said there's not going to be anybody that does double stuff. So
And the whole thing with the rumors, since we're talking about Lex Luthor, we talked last week about the idea of a cast member from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie
mhm.
being in Superman Legacy. Apparently, the conversations, and of course this is still hearsay, nothing confirmed, um that the rumors were that Cooper would be Luthor. What do you think about that?
Bradley Cooper as Luther. I'd be down with that. Definitely an older Luther for sure. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, are Luther and Superman that how far are they apart in age?
So it's been different in a lot of reiterations. Of course,
Yeah.
you look at Superman the movie, you look
Mhm.
at Christopher Reeves, and oh shoot, I
Kevin
can't remember.
Spacey?
No,
No,
Kevin Spacey is
Brandon
Brandon
Routh.
Routh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, uh, I can't remember his name.
I don't
But
remember either.
there was a pretty large gap between age there.
Mhm.
Then you look at some stories within comics where they grew up together in Smallville. Of
Yeah.
course, there's the show Smallville, where Lex Luthor was an older person running a business while Clark was a freshman in high school in the first season.
Mm.
So, which was always kind of weird for a lot of viewers. Like, why is a grown ass man hanging out with a freshman in high school, type of thing?
Well, I thought in Smallville wasn't his dad was like, Luthor Senior or whatever, but Lex Luthor was actually his friend.
Well, no, so Lionel Luthor
Yeah.
was the father.
Uh-huh.
Lex Luthor, uh, yeah, they were definitely friends, but then like over time, like things got
Because I
between
guess
them.
he wasn't going to high school, was he?
No, no,
Yeah.
he was
Okay.
he was always at his mansion or like
Yeah.
running the business. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense actually. Because I think the first time he sees him is the bridge, right? He almost runs him
yeah.
over and he doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, I never actually finished Smallville, but I got pretty far, I think. Anyways, so yes, I mean, interesting roles here, but I think the more interesting thing is something I put in the Discord because you mentioned, we've all this talk about the Guardian stuff. Somebody already asked, has a Guardians of the Galaxy person, or will somebody in Guardians be in, Superman? And James Gunn just said yes. And so everybody's like, oh my God, is it going to be Lois Lane? Is it going to be, is Pratt going to be Superman? Like, what is it going to be, right? And I don't know if Gunn clarified this. I don't think he clarified who's who. He obviously he hasn't done that. But he says none of the heavy hitters, or what was the exact quote about, like, none of the reoccurring people?
Yeah, nobody in the Superman story, like the realm of, like, basically the Superman family.
Yeah.
Perry White, Lois Lane, everybody who you think of when you think of Superman.
Yeah.
None of them have been casted yet.
Yeah.
So,
but he then put a little mermaid or merman at the end of the tweet. And I was like, I automatically thought, oh, is that Aquaman? Because we hear the rumors that Aquaman 2 is really bad. We think that Jason Momoa is going to go be Lobo instead. And so this might be the perfect time to recast an Aquaman, to where maybe Superman meets him and he's all like, Aquaman, what's the situation? Yada, yada, that could be a really good way to just introduce a new Aquaman, right?
yeah.
Because this movie will happen after Aquaman 2. So you could kind of just reboot everything there and all that jazz. We don't know what's going to be happening if Aquaman 2 and Flash are maybe happening at the same time. So you could still kind of retcon it if you want to. We don't know till we watch it. But so that's what I thought. And then Clay was like, everybody thinks that's Vigilante. And I was like, how the fuck is that Vigilante? Like, that makes no sense to me. And then, you went ahead and pointed out that it's part of the Peacemaker show.
Yeah.
And I completely blanked on that. And I was like, oh, that's a crazy reference.
So in the show Peacemaker, the first time the group actually, like, meshes well together, I think it's like on, like, the second or third mission within this season.
Mm-hmm.
They all have a group text.
Yeah.
And Vigilante ends up texting in the group chat a emoji of the merman.
Yeah.
And so everybody was like, oh, because Gunn was the one that posted his big thing once all the, like, rumors and leaks and whatever you want to call them about the castings came out. He was like, guys, please know that this is just a situation like we were talking about a couple weeks ago about how Zachary Levi auditioned for Star-Lord. Like, you're going to hear big names.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is all just what the process is. And then he put the merman. And
well, to clarify, he said that he will not comment on people that are auditioning until they reveal it themselves,
because he doesn't want to ruin that process for them. Right. Yeah. And so people were like, oh, like, we know what this merman is. And that's when the thread of Peacemaker came out. And then somebody posted a comic book cover of it's DC Comics Presents Superman. This title has changed so much throughout the years of DC Comics. But this was a DC Comics Presents number 92, and it's Superman versus Vigilante.
Yeah.
So there's comic book precedent, and people were like, I don't really care for Vigilante's silliness and that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
With Superman Legacy. And I had to remind people that, like, there is definitely moments where Vigilante is the dumbest piece of shit in that movie.
Yeah.
Other than Peacemaker
I love him,
himself.
Though. Yeah.
And he's hilarious. But you have to remember, there was one specific moment that you were like, oh shit, this dude is a stone cold killer. When Peacemaker, spoilers for Peacemaker, when Peacemaker refused to kill the family that we found out was actually just aliens.
Yeah.
Freaking Vigilante took the gun, didn't blink, and killed a mother, a father, and 2 children.
Yeah.
Without even thinking.
Yeah, and don't forget the prison scene too, where he went in there and just fought a bunch of white supremacists.
Like, that is also true. Yeah.
So yeah, he does. There is precedent for him being, like, super crazy. Although, I mean, obviously he lived, I'm pretty sure, at the end of that show, but he was pretty fucked up, if I remember correctly. So there's no telling if he's gonna still be the goofy person that he was. But yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued. I like that, James Gunn is already expanding the universe that he's already created,
Yeah.
which always, I mean, I think that kind of like, if you're gonna bring back somebody like Vigilante, because I know we constantly are gonna harp back to this until we get some kind of confirmation. I don't see why you don't bring back Harley Quinn. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I think there's no reason that there's not. The only reason why people would assume Harley Quinn is not coming back is because he deleted a tweet. And I just don't think that holds enough weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until Margot Robbie's like, I'm done with comic books, like, which would be really like definitely a 180 from what she said in the past. I'd be very curious. I'd be very I don't know the proper word, weary of any kind of rumors of her not being Harley Quinn. But yeah, I don't know. So I think that's kind of cool if we're getting Vigilante in Superman Legacy. But why do you have Batman listed there?
So it goes along with the comments that we just had.
Okay.
The idea that nobody in the Superman family has been
Mm-hmm.
casted, and there are people who have not, who are not adjacent to Superman,
Yeah.
have been casted. So there's already been talks and rumors of people being like, what if Batman's been casted already? What if Batman shows up in Superman Legacy?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, would it be too early to cast a Batman when Batman, or excuse me, the Batman 2
Mm-hmm.
is coming out within the same year as Superman?
No. The writer strikes are changing all of that.
Yes, indeed. We'll
So
talk about that later.
yeah. So I don't think any of that matters right now. But no, I think the Batman is solidified in stone. Whoever's gonna like the Batman's gonna like the Batman, and I think the DCU has nothing to do with that anymore. Like, it's, you do what you do with it, to be
Now,
honest.
here's another question to you, though,
Mm-hmm.
because this was also a point that a lot of people were talking about. Would Batman steal the limelight from Superman? Because one thing that we had talked about when coming to rumors of the Batman, Matt Reeves,
Mm-hmm.
before we had our opinions about it, was the rumors where Joker was going to show up.
Yeah.
And we had said, if the Joker shows up, that's going to steal the limelight, and it's going to take over the entire movie.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I don't think it did. There was a lot of talk about it within the first
Yeah.
few weeks, but I think that there was an overall love for that movie anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, and also because the good thing about Reeves is that he took out that giant scene with Joker.
Yeah.
With, if both of those scenes made it in, Joker would be the only thing people would talk about.
Yeah.
Now, with
I
Batman showing up in Superman Legacy, if he does that steal the limelight from Superman?
Yeah. I think by the time that Joker scene came on, people were asleep. So I don't think a lot of people remember that part. But would it steal the limelight? I wouldn't do it personally. But I mean, anytime you have Batman and Superman on the screen together or in the same area, I think Batman is going to steal the limelight. But it's just because I think he has a bigger reach, right? Like, he's got more
Yeah.
movies, I should say more successful movies.
Mhm.
And like, it unfortunately, it's like, oh yeah, anybody could be Batman if you had no money. I'm like, I don't know about that, but okay, you can try. And yeah, there's just like this weird thing around Batman, and it's because I think it's also one of those things where Batman also has a lot of haters, so it makes him really talked about a lot, right? Because every time you
Yeah.
have somebody that's like, Batman could do this, he's like, really, bro? Actually, this guy over here can do. It's you've seen the Twitter fights, like, I've been a part of them, but so yeah, I don't think it's too early to cast him right now. I think you could cast him. And if you are going to put him in the Legacy movie, you do it at the end of the movie. You do it at the very
The only thing I'm afraid of
Mhm.
is they do the Nick Fury thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm putting a team together. Like,
Mhm.
I'm okay if they do it, but they can't do it verbatim,
Yeah.
If Batman shows up, I don't want him to even be like a full front camera face type thing. I want to see like his shadow, or like a reference of him like at the
Mhm.
Daily Planet or something. Like I don't need a full like faced Batman.
Yeah. I want what they did in the animated series where he's spying on Superman and Superman spies on him. Like that shit would be awesome.
I would love that if Gunn legitimately because this like I love Superman. Superman is
Mhm.
my favorite character at DC. But when you watch that movie,
Mhm.
Superman peaks first. He looks
Yeah.
first. And that's the joke that's made because when Batman finds out who Superman is,
Mhm.
Bruce tells Clark, he's like, "You peaked first. Like you made it fair game to find out who you are
Yeah.
since you looked at me." Um, if they were to show Clark or Superman using his supervision to look
Mhm.
under the cowl, oh, that would be cool. That would be
Yeah.
so cool. And then in future movies of Batman, we
Mhm.
find out that his mask is made out of lead,
Mhm.
like to prevent that also. I think
Yeah.
that would be cool too.
Yeah, no, that'd be pretty cool. Like, but I don't think you could do that story properly without including Batman. Like, it
Yeah.
can't be an end credit scene or something like that because it involves Lois Lane. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, like, I don't think you could do that
Ooh,
properly.
see, I would be very interested. And again, one of the big things Gunn said when he was like when everybody was like itching to know what Gunn's motivations were for his new DC universe,
Yeah.
he said he looked at Justice League Unlimited, he looked at Young Justice, he looked at the things that have worked for universes
Hmm.
that people love. And he's like, okay, let's adapt that into live action. Let's take some of that into live action. If they make this enough to where Superman is a young Superman, a Lois is a younger Lois, their relationship is fairly new, only work type of relationship,
Yeah.
and then Bruce comes along, it's like, hey,
Hmm.
Lois Lane,
Yeah.
that would be wild.
Yeah. But he would be, I think it would be like BVS levels of Batman involvement. You know what I mean?
Ugh.
And you don't want that because everybody says that's a Batman movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
like, which it blows my mind that people are like, "That's Superman too," and I'm like, "No, it's not. Like
yeah.
that is a Batman movie." Zack Snyder made that very clear. Um, but yeah, no, I don't know. I would love to see that. I just don't think you could pull it off properly without Batman being a part of it, and I don't think Batman should be a part of Superman Legacy. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
for sure.
You could do the end credit scene where he's arriving in a private jet and Lois Lane is like talking to him. You could do that.
Or like throughout the movie, that like Lois is already dating somebody, so like
Yeah.
she's kind of giving Clark the cold shoulder, and then finding out that she's dating Batman,
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but do you really want to put the mental image of Bruce Wayne banging out Lois Lane in people's minds? You know what I mean? I don't know
would,
if you
would it
want
would
that.
it remind them too much of what Zack Snyder's plan was?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So I don't know.
Oh
So,
God, you would have the cultists be like, "Gunn is stealing his
yeah.
idea."
So I don't know. I wouldn't count out a end credit scene because if I'm not mistaken, isn't Brave and the Bold the movie that follows next?
I believe
Most
so.
likely,
Yeah,
unless it's
yeah.
like Paradise, or is Paradise a show?
Paradise is a show.
Okay. So, I mean, you could probably put the Authority in between those two movies. I don't know if we had exclusive dates or not for anything besides Superman, but I want to say that you're going to do your top two biggest characters back to back, you know?
Yeah.
You're going to do Superman, you're going to do Batman. So, I would assume there is, I actually think if they do say like, yes, Batman is the next movie after, you don't do the Batman cameo and you do the Authority cameo saying that they don't like Superman. Something like that.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah,
Like,
We
because I
also
mean,
did get the tease that James Gunn is reading Grifter and the Wildstorm bunch.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So could be them too.
Well, there was this like the big theory that we had before we realized how much Black Adam like sucked or whatever
Hmm.
was like you threw out there, oh, wouldn't it be kind of cool if like you see Superman and Batman in the Batcave and they're like watching like news coverage about what happened in Black Adam and be like, oh, we got to watch out for this guy.
Yeah.
Like would you be okay with like seeing all of Superman Legacy
Mm-hmm.
and then the cameo of Batman literally just being like a shot of the Batcave? You see the Superman S or Superman flying across the sky on the monitor of the Bat computer. You
Mm-hmm.
don't see Batman, but you just see like his gauntlet like sitting on the armrest or whatever.
Yeah. I'd be cool with that because you still wouldn't have to cast somebody at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But also, do you want another director to make the Batcave for you as a director that would be doing Batman?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If the rumors are true that Muschietti is the front runner to do Brave and the Bold, he's already made a few Batcaves.
Yeah.
So are we using those Batcaves? You know?
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I hope they announce that soon because they have to get a director going pretty soon for that, I would assume.
I like it's gonna be hard. Like our next topic is involving the writer strike, but like
Before we move on to that, though, I mean, go finish your thing. I don't know if
well,
you're moving to that right
I was
now.
gonna say Juice is gonna be going to San Diego Comic-Con. I don't think you're gonna be making Hall H.
No,
But
I won't be there on Saturday.
but I assume there's gonna they're gonna have to announce some stuff at Hall H.
Yeah. I mean, as of right now, that week we are going to be still doing the podcast, from my understanding, but it's just going to be later.
Yes.
I will be flying unless something crazy happens and I get like another room or something like that. I mean, I would still film the podcast on location, from my hotel room. But as of right now, I'm going to Comic-Con for 2 days instead of the 5. And I'm coming back on Friday night, and then we'll be able to record Saturday, preferably after the DC panel, which is usually around noon on a Saturday, unless they change it.
Yeah, I think that would be the best thing just because we have everything. There's a lot more topics to talk about. It'd be fresh. I think that would be the way to go.
Yeah, so just expect in July. I think it's the final week of July, maybe the third week of July. The podcast will definitely be late during San Diego Comic-Con. But yeah, I've experienced Hall H. Hall H is amazing. I was there when they announced the Justice League, so that was really fucking cool. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But before we move on to the writer strikes and how that might delay everything, James Gunn, because we were speaking about Batman, did say that there is no current age for Batman.
Yes.
So this is interesting because somebody and I love that James Gunn came out and said, he was like, look, I'm not going to comment on people that are auditioning for stuff right now because it's just not right. It's basically for them to be able to do that. And I think it's also kind of like, I also got the vibe that he's like, fucking stop asking me everything, you assholes. Like, you know what I mean? Because it does get annoying. As somebody who has experienced this on a very, 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 very minuscule level, it does get annoying when you get the same questions a fucking million times a day.
Well, there was the right after Guardians of the Galaxy premiered, he was like, hey guys, I have like a few minutes of downtime. You can ask me anything, but it has to be about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
He knew. He's like, it has to be about Guardians of the Galaxy, and it can only be yes or no answers.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's gotten to that point a little bit. I think he still likes to have fun. He likes to respond to people. But like when he because again, back in the day, I feel like he had a Q&A session on Instagram once a week.
Yeah.
Those are long gone.
He's in charge now, so I think he's also can't do it as much as he wants to. Because before, it's different just running a movie and then running a studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now it's like, I got to talk about everything. So, So as of right now, do you have the thing pulled up? Exactly what he said?
Yeah. So let me go ahead and grab that quote specifically.
I forget the thing he was responding to. Because I think somebody was saying like, oh, is Batman going to be older or something along those lines? Because, from our understanding, it's going to be Batman and Robin. And has it been confirmed that it's Damian? Or are we just assuming that?
I think it's been confirmed, but don't quote me on that. So it did come from Twitter. Somebody by the name of Contract or Alex, or at Contract or Alex, says, James Gunn, my nerdy little heart would like to know how old did the DCU Batman will be when we get Brave and the Bold, assuming that's the first time we meet him. And Gunn responded with, "We haven't cast him yet, so we have no clue."
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, hey, we don't have an age for Batman. It's, hey, the right person hasn't come through the door for us. We have no idea how old he's going to be.
Yeah. I just saw somebody under those comments put like, he's right here, and it's Jake Gyllenhaal. And that's my cast. That's my pick. I want Jake Gyllenhaal because I think he's like 42, which I think is a decent age. He looks great. He's shooting that UFC movie right now, and he's fucking cut.
Yeah, that like I saw some clips from that night.
Yeah.
He does look pretty good. People are still putting freaking Jensen Ackles as
I
stop
hate
it.
that.
Stop
I
it.
hate that.
He
You
has
want to
the
know?
worst Batman voice ever. I'm sorry.
It's home of DC. Fuck that guy. The guy that reports everything. He wants Jensen Ackles. Never trust that guy on anything. Yeah, I would not want Jensen Ackles. And he's like fucking 45. He's older than Jake Gyllenhaal, I think.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I would go Jake Gyllenhaal because like, even if Jake, like, he's got a really good beard. That's the thing. And so, like, when you shave a really good beard, the stubble comes in really well. And if you had Batman with stubble, that looks really good, I think.
I will say, I don't think we've had, I think Affleck is the only Batman with stubble.
Yeah. And he looks dope.
And he looks good.
So,
looking at these other comments, we see some people want Oscar Isaac. Some people want Scott Eastwood.
A Latino Batman? Damn. That'd be you'd have the Bud Light haters right now really upset if Batman was a Latino. Oh, he crossed the border? What the fuck? Ah, fuck. Crazy people, man. But yeah, it ain't gonna be, look, Batman's gonna be white. I would be so shocked if he wasn't white. I just don't think, I mean, it's just not going to happen. And I don't think it should. I think Bruce Wayne should always be white. He comes from old money. I've always said that. That's the one role I have no problem with it being fucking whitewashed all the time. It's just, you better give me a good actor. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Don't fucking give me a nobody, some new pretty boy off the street that sucks at acting. You know what I mean? Like, you need to give me somebody good, which is why I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I think that'd be fucking great. I think he's a phenomenal actor. When he goes crazy, like in a lot of his movies, like he's like really good and intense. So I would love to see that. And right now, like I said, just look up Jake Gyllenhaal UFC for anybody that's listening to this podcast, and that dude is ripped right now. Yeah. So I think he'd make a great Batman. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. You think we get a casting for that by the end of the year?
For Batman?
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at the timeline now, it is, as the time we were recording this, May.
Yeah.
Gunn has confirmed, and I think these are best wishes, that Superman will begin production, aka filming, in January.
Yeah.
That is 7 months from now. And then it releases in 2025 in June, I believe, or May, one of the two. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, the movie will premiere. And I believe Batman the Brave and the Bold is also set for a little bit after Superman Legacy. I think 2026.
I would assume. So here's the thing. They never really confirmed on how many things we're getting a year, right?
Yeah.
So like Batman could be 2026, you know?
Yeah.
So like
I would say if we don't get a Batman casting by December, next Comic-Con.
I don't know, man. I really think DC should hold their own thing. You don't need Comic-Con.
You don't. But I think the one thing that we have very much seen from Zaslav is that he likes the old ways. He likes the promotion. He likes cable television. Like he likes these things that would get AKA general audience, when a lot of these things aren't for general audience. Like the general audience helps make the money for sure. But when you are trying to hype up the people, you're not trying to hype up the general audience. You know?
Yeah, I've said many a times on this podcast that DC's marketing team is horrible. They could be a lot better. They could be doing way more things. And Zaslav, with the way Zaslav says that people will come back to work because they're passionate, when it comes to this writer's strike, I don't see him changing anything for the better necessarily. Granted, as much as we talk shit about Zaslav, he made the right call in like, hey, I need somebody that's going to run this studio and this studio alone. And there's too many cooks in the kitchen, which that's smart. As much as you can hate Zaslav and think he's a greedy ass bastard, that's fair. But he's so far made the right decisions when it comes to putting DC on track. Will these movies be good? Will James Gunn and stuff pay out? I would be shocked if James Gunn just randomly fails out of nowhere. You know what I mean? He just proved with Guardians of the Galaxy can still make money. I think they're about to cross $500 million, if I'm not mistaken, if they haven't already. So
yeah, I think so. I'm gonna look at that actually.
Yeah, so like, or they're on their way at least, because I know they're definitely over 300 million, which is probably that's already breaking even. I would say maybe at that point. Yeah. But that movie's going to be profitable, and that's what DC needs. DC needs profit because it's been a long time since they've had any. But yeah, so I'm going to be very curious on when we get a Batman casting and who it's going to be. I would assume it's going to be a slightly like late 30s, early 40s type of actor. So, you know, because you gotta have Dick Grayson's probably going to be in their 20s. So is partly Barbara Gordon.
Yeah, and that's like something that we need to understand. Also, it's been confirmed by Gunn himself that Batman Brave and the Bold will be the introduction to the Bat family.
Yeah.
And I guess you could take that both ways. You could be like, hey, we're introducing a Robin, so it'll be the introduction to the Bat family. Or you can take it as like, hey, all of the characters will be in here. But I'm pretty sure he has also confirmed that there will be multiple characters of the Bat family in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Curious if they'll recast Batgirl. That'll be the biggest thing. Because I don't know if that actress is good or not. You know, maybe she's part of the reason why they're like, yeah, we can't salvage this movie, you know. Because it definitely ain't Brendan Fraser. He wasn't the problem.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Or Michael Keaton. So it's just like, ooh. Maybe the directors just sucked. We don't really know. But they've done good shit in the past. Like, their Bad Boys movie was awesome. So, who knows? Anyways, moving on from that, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the writer's strike and the delays that it's already causing because the Penguin has stopped production. So, I don't know if this is the first casualty, because I know all the late night shows have been canceled already. We're not canceled, but like on hiatus or whatever while this writer's strike is happening. But the Penguin, I don't know, how far do you think they are? Because they've been filming for a hot minute now, it feels like.
Yeah, I believe they had been filming since October. Actually, I think it's only been since February. I don't know the normal length of production on a streaming show, which I think only has a limited number of episodes anyway. I don't know how long production usually lasts. But I think because it looked like they had that weird trailer that was a mix of actual footage and also like production footage, which was very, very odd. But it looked like they were making some really good headway on production. So like whether this delay be like something as small as just like, hey, there's some things that we need rewrites on, but of course the writer strike is there. I wonder if this is going to be one of the first max casualties with that introduces AI into their projects.
That would be horrible. Here's the thing, but is somebody like, because I'm assuming the people that are writing it, I mean, I guess the strike proves that this is already a moot point, but I feel like Matt Reeves doesn't need to be a part of that guild. You know what I mean? He's probably like already on his own.
But he is a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably why production stopped. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like he's big enough already that he probably doesn't benefit from this. Because this is what I heard. I was watching a podcast because, like, you know that basically, like, I think if we made something in Hollywood or we like wrote something or whatever, we could be a part of the guild, right? Like, it's not that hard, from my understanding, to get a part of it.
Really?
Well, because here's the thing. I know people, maybe you have to be in LA to do this, I don't know, but I watch YouTubers, or I was watching a streamer that he says he's part of the guild. And I'm like, how? I was like, what have you done? Like, now I don't know if it's because like internet shows can be put on as because he is a part of a couple like live streaming shows. He was, and maybe this is how he got it. He was a part of G4 when he came back, so maybe that's how he got put into it. I don't really know, but he's part of the guild or whatever, and so I'm just like, okay, so I don't know how you get in there, but the way apparently there are a lot of writers in Hollywood that don't need the guild because they're big enough, right? Like they can do their own thing. They're not the ones that need the residuals or whatever because they're already in a different, like pay bracket or whatever. But what they're fighting for here is the people that are doing a lot of the grunt work and a lot of the like, oh yeah, we write this, and oh yeah, we're the ones that are on set all the time, and oh yeah, we're this and that. Like that's what they're fighting for here, from my understanding. It's not like the big name writers are on strike too. Granted, I think a lot of them know where they came from, kind of like James Gunn, right? Like he's like, oh, I've been there, so like, yeah, I support it. So I think you're gonna have a lot of big name actors that are cool with everybody, gonna be like, yeah, I support it 100%. But I do think there's also a lot of people that aren't a part of the guild that could just keep working because they're not going to get blacklisted because they already got connections. They're like, I'm good.
Also, though, one thing that I have been hearing is that a lot of makeup and costume designers are planning on going on strike as well as actors and directors. There's already talks of both guilds.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah. So like it sounds like all of Hollywood is about to be like, hey, we're out.
I hear right now they're losing $30 million a day.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they lost what? It was like 1.6 billion or 6 billion.
Almost 2 billion.
Yeah.
Last time the strike hit.
So, damn. How? This is one thing I love America. I love that we're the home of the free, quote unquote. But when you realize how much money just gets thrown around in some of these industries,
it's crazy because like America is the one country that's like money, right?
Yeah.
Like, make your money. Don't throw your money away.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're not gonna pay you this much, but we're okay with burning $30 million a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
It's insane.
Like I legit think you lose more money not giving them what they want.
Yeah.
Than like that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, dude. This is the one thing that sucks when you get older and you actually pay attention to things. You realize how much how fucked a lot of things are. And hopefully when you do realize that, you don't become one of those people that's like, oh, we can't change anything. Nothing changes. You gotta just do the same. Like, because you're just part of the problem. You're exactly what they want. And but yeah, like it's just blows my mind seeing that $30 million a day just going down the drain because they don't want to pay some people. No, we'll use Chat GBT. They're gonna start probably trying to Chat GBT special effects and shit, and it's gonna be awful. Have you seen that trailer that was like completely made by CGI and it's just like ripped from all the movies?
Is it? No, I think I saw a beer commercial that was made.
Yeah, there was a beer commercial too, but like, well, here's the thing: we might have been seeing the same one, and you might think it's a beer commercial because they stole a lot of the scenes and stuff from The Great Gatsby.
Oh, that's hilarious!
Yeah, like there's a scene where like a AI person's like holding a wine glass. It's the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of the like "good on you" or whatever. So like, it's just straight stolen shit. So yeah, I don't know. But as for the Penguin, it's gonna be delayed. I don't know when it'll come out now, but I will. Dude, here's the thing. So I've been watching. This is just a little side tangent. I've been watching The Walking Dead. I finally caught up on it. I finished the whole show on Netflix. That show, for running 11 seasons, was still pretty fucking good.
Really?
I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, like because everybody knows that everybody jumped off after the Negan part, right? Yeah. Because everybody's like, oh my God, Glenn. Like, that was like, that had to happen. That was the biggest part. The actor wanted that to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's such an iconic part of the comic. And well, everybody's like, Negan stayed around too long because he stayed around for 2 seasons. Usually the way it worked was you had a big bad for a season, they died, right? Negan stuck around. And then I also think, and I was reading some articles that I think Andrew Lincoln, who was Rick, leaving was a big part of the, problem with the show too. And a lot of people jumping off. And it sucks that they decided to off Carl right before Andrew Lincoln was like, "I'm gonna leave the show." And they're like, "Are you fucking what? We just killed Carl? Like, what the fuck?" But yeah, so some pretty crazy shit. But that show is still surprisingly good for going 11 seasons. I think the moment a show goes past 6 seasons, everybody's like, it's too much, it's done. Like, you have to have a short show for it to be considered great, in my opinion.
It's odd, man, because like there's some things that I'm just like, I don't want it to end, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then there's shows that like, god damn it, it needs to end already.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is The Flash.
Mhm.
You know, I think a lot of people had a lot of fun the first 3 seasons. 4 took like a downward spiral and it
Mhm.
just did not stop. But I don't know if you've seen the last few episodes. Well,
No.
not watching them, but seeing just like reactions to it.
No.
A lot of people have said the last few episodes of The Flash, which by the way, last episode next week.
Yeah, I gotta try to work out if I can have something going on in the Discord. So,
But the last few episodes have apparently been as like A grade quality as the first season.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I do think a lot of those superhero shows went on way too long. And some, I mean, the superhero shows needed to be cut in half. And I think that's maybe why The Walking Dead was so good for a long time, because it was only like 13 episodes a
Yeah.
season. And when like somebody died in that show, you were like, no, it was like fucking really good. But no, I think it was still surprisingly good for going 11 seasons. But it's also like there's supposed to be a shitload of spinoffs. I tried to start watching Fear the Walking Dead yesterday, but for some reason that fucking show's only on Hulu and they have commercials. And I'm like,
What?
fuck you. Yeah, I don't know why. It's only on Hulu.
That's
And,
weird.
I mean, you can do like the AMC Plus, I guess, app
yeah.
or whatever if you want to. But like, I get that free Hulu with Spotify, but it has commercials, and I'm just like, man, dude, commercials ruin an experience so much. Like, holy fuck. But anyway, so yeah, I started watching that recently. So, but I do catch myself like on my phone while watching stuff. I think that's the one benefit of anime is if you're watching subs, you have to pay attention.
Yeah, like I watch so many things and then pull out my phone and then just like
Yeah.
listen to it. I think it's just a part of my ADHD,
Mm.
which was the hardest for me. Guys, if you don't know, by the time you're listening to this, me and Juice have already seen Fast and Furious 10.
Yeah.
I had to catch up on them. So
Mhm.
watching 8 and 9, I was like, I want to look at my phone. I want to look at my
Yeah.
phone. But like those movies are so fucking crazy. I was just like, you know what? Let me just like pull this one out and see what's going on.
Yeah.
You were right. 9 is absolutely fucking wild.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Yeah. That's why I love those movies. They're just so stupid. Like, they're just so ridiculous. It's like what makes Fast and the Furious entertaining to me is they're so stupid and ridiculous and unbelievable, but the actors play it as serious. And that's what makes it funny.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, they believe this shit.
Well,
Like,
like
you know what I mean?
the whole joke of 9.
Mhm.
I'm sorry for anybody who hasn't seen 9. The whole joke of 9 is what's his name?
Tyrese's character.
Tyrese.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, dude, look at all this shit we've been through.
Yeah.
And we haven't died. Like,
Yeah.
I think we're invincible. Like,
Yeah.
kind of like pulling off the joke of like, hey, it's now become a superhero genre.
Yeah.
And then like eventually Ludacris is like, no, you're just fucking stupid. Like
Yeah.
that was the big joke at the end. But yeah, like a lot of people have said, hey, when do you think Fast and Furious like fell into this like jokingly genre or whatever?
Yeah.
Some people say that it was when The Rock like broke his cast on his arm and shit.
Yeah.
I think in
That was
7.
7, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7
I,
is I think where everybody says they fell off. So,
I think was 7 also when Vin Diesel
breaks
flew
a
out
hole.
and grabs Liddy from the air.
That might have been 8?
I think that's 6.
Is that 6? Maybe.
When
Maybe.
she was thought to be dead and then
Yeah.
comes back and she doesn't have memory of him.
Yeah.
I think that's 6, right?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's been a while since I've seen those because
Yeah.
I could also see it. It's not 8 because you just watched that, right?
Yeah.
So 8 and 9, it's definitely not those because I think those are the Charlize Theron movies. And then
Oh,
yeah,
you know
so
what? I think it was 7. I think it was 7.
really, because isn't 7 the street always wins and he breaks the whole concrete thing?
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, like he stomps on the ground and he
And
crushes a
there's the
whole thing.
parking garage.
Yeah. Like, that's why I love those movies. They're so dumb.
Dude, I saw a edit of that movie
Mhm.
where they turn the lead pipe into a lightsaber. It's
Nice.
so fucking
Oh, I think
hilarious,
I've seen
dude.
that. I think I've seen that. But yeah, like they're so dumb because like I think you asked it because when I said I couldn't watch Free Guy, I was like, I think his Free Guy is just too cringe. But I'm also not a Ryan Reynolds. I'm not a huge Ryan Reynolds fan like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you were like, how do you watch Fast and the Furious? And that's why I said, I'm like, it's because it's so ridiculous, but they act like it's serious that I laugh. Because like the shit they do in there is just so, it's like crazier than an anime. Like it's nuts. And I don't know, it blows my mind. And I'm excited for 10 because it's Jason Momoa and like he's just gonna make it more ridiculous. And I'm just like, I'm here for it. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch that later today. But moving on from that, the last thing we got in news portion is it's Eisner season. For those of you that don't know what the Eisners are, they are essentially the Oscars for comic book writing. Or I
Yeah.
guess it's not necessarily just comic book writing, right? Because I think there's like editorial stuff that gets done in here
Yeah,
too.
editorial stuff, there's art stuff. It's
Yeah.
for comic books overall, like anything
Yeah.
that
The
has to do with
medium. Yeah.
the creative side of comics, there's
Mhm.
Eisners for it.
Yeah.
Of course, famously, Will Eisner is the whole reason why we have these things. But
Mhm.
for this podcast, Tom King has won a lot of Eisners
Yeah.
for his Elmer Fudd story, for
Mr. Miracle.
his Mr. Miracle, like a whole bunch of Swamp Thing, his very short story on Swamp Thing, he won an
Mhm.
Eisner for. Uh, so I just wanted to remind everybody, these are really cool things. And I think that you
Yeah.
guys should support these books because a lot of them also are highlighted because they're indie books, not necessarily because they're the big two, not Marvel,
Yeah.
not DC. So if you go to, I can't remember the website, go follow any artist or writer of comics and they'll be talking about it. They'll sure throw in a link to the full list of the Eisner nominations. Check those books out. I think they're greatly recommended.
Yeah. The Eisners are actually held at Comic-Con, and I don't know if it's open to the general public, but I've never got to go, and I would like to go one year if I can. But yeah, I don't know. So for best writer, just to throw this out there, because I know Raphael posted this in the Discord. Best writer, we have Grace Ellis for Flung Out of Space. We have Tom King for everything Tom King's done. I think if he's gonna win here, it's probably for Supergirl or Love Everlasting. But I think I don't know, he might be nominated for the Batman stuff he's done too, because he has Gotham Year One, Killing Time, and One Bad Day. I don't think he's ever won anything for Batman though. Like, I don't think he ever won anything for Batcat. I don't think he won anything for his main Batman title, unless we're including the Elmer Fudd as a Batman book. Then yes, he has.
Yes, I
But
would assume so.
yeah, so that would be the only thing. We have Mark Russell for Traveling to Mars. And then these next two, very interesting that was pointed out. Well, Raphael pointed out one thing, but it actually applies to both people. James Tynan the Fourth for House of Slaughter, Something is Killing the Children. WYND, is that Wind? At Boom
Yeah.
Studios. The Nice House on the Lake and the Sandman Universe. He's nominated. And then, I don't know how, Chip Zdarsky for Stillwater and Daredevil at Marvel. Now, granted, Daredevil, from what I had read previously, was good. I have not read the indie stuff that he's done at Image, but both of those people, no Batman in their respective like, hey, these people have done this kind of thing. Now, I don't know if the Eisners only include stuff that has happened in the last year, but I'm just because I understand why Tynan wouldn't have something, but Chip Zdarsky is currently writing Batman.
I have the entire list of the Eisner nominations for 2023 right now.
We
So
don't
if
need to
you
go through every single one of them.
no, so I believe looking at the list,
Mhm.
a lot of this is the current runs of the previous year. So just like how the Oscars do
Yeah.
it, it would
Mhm.
be the previous year. So we're looking at all of 2022,
Okay.
basically.
Okay. But Zdarsky was still the writer of Batman.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on why. Like, are they just like that's just bad? We better not put it on there. Like, just very curious. But hey,
Well, no, I think because if he is being nominated for best because it's best continuing series, right? He's
no,
being
it's best
nominated
writer.
a best writer. Okay,
Well,
let's see.
here, I mean, he might have multiple nominations,
Yeah,
but
so looking at the best writer category, okay, so best writer uh could be just him
yeah.
as an individual. I can understand that.
hmm
Not having Batman there is a little odd, but looking at like best series,
hmm
well, out of the two, I think a lot of people would pick Daredevil over Batman. So
Yeah.
that's why Batman is only there. Um, yeah, it's a little odd that they just decided to not put Batman in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand people want to forget the series, but yeah, I don't know. But I will say, as much as I like to shit on Chip Zdarsky, he's nominated for Best Writer. And I think that is an accomplishment just to be nominated. So, congrats to everybody nominated. And the Eisner's not in just Best Writer category. Just because I don't like a series doesn't mean that these people aren't deserving. So,
Yeah.
shout out to them. And I think that is all we got. And we're going to move on to
Well,
viewer question. Oh,
before we move on to viewer questions, I just needed to share this because
uh-huh.
I think that you will get a kick out of this. I got this email from DC this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we are getting a Norts Illustrated swimsuit edition
All right.
for DC. So
Hey,
we're looking
Catwoman.
at some covers here. Batman and Catwoman. We have Catwoman. We
Is
have
that
Harley
who is that?
Quinn.
Jen Bartel? Is that Jen Bartel? No.
Which one? This one right here?
Yeah. No, that's not Jen
This
Bartel.
no, this is Terry Dotson. Terry
Oh, okay.
Dotson is very famously uh does covers for Catwoman
hmm
and for Wonder Woman. Um
Okay, yeah.
yeah. So we have a Terry Dotson Catwoman swimsuit cover. We have Harley Quinn with the hyenas. We have Wonder Woman. We have like
Goddamn.
freaking Aquaman over
I
here looking like
know.
he almost looks like Chris Hemsworth, which is
Yeah.
wild. Of course, we have Nubia and Wonder Woman. We have Mikhail Janin,
Oh, that one's
Batman, and
cool. I
Catwoman.
feel like I've seen that before.
A lot of these have been older
Oh, okay.
pieces that they're just putting into the swimsuit edition.
Okay.
Um, we have, of course, Nightwing. We
hmm
have Poison Ivy,
Yeah, I've
Superman,
seen that.
Batman,
Yeah, that's old.
uh, and then we have the Superman family
Hmm.
uh, bathing out in the sun. I thought this was pretty funny. It says here that this is going to be released, I believe. Let me see if the release date is up here. Um, August 23rd of this year, we will get the swimsuit edition.
That's
Just
funny.
thought this was really funny. And since we were
Nort.
talking about Eisner and comic book news, decided to throw that up there as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So that'll be pretty interesting. But yeah, I could have sworn I've seen some of those before. But let's move on to some viewer questions. We have Kid Stu, who hasn't been on the podcast in a hot minute. Says, what would your ideal bat suit look like for Brave and the Bold? Color, logo, ear length, materials, etc. I want a obviously I'll always go blue cow. I think I would go blue cow. I don't know the logo. I mean, I have always been partial to the like Jim Lee Batman logo. I like that logo a lot for like Hush. I
Yeah.
basically give me the Hush suit because I like a big belt Batman. Like I want the belt to look cool, not one of those stupid sleek like, oh yeah, it looks like the pockets don't even work and it's just a belt. I want like pouches. Like I want something like that. Um so that would be my ideal, basically like a Jim Lee Batman Hush kind of thing with a big pouchy belt would be my ideal thing. And like the same thing with the ear length on that too, because they're not too short, but they're also not too long. I think they're just right. So I would go with that.
For me, looking at the criteria here, let's see here. So color, I think I want to go blue, but I don't want to go like 80s like light blue. I would want to go with like closer to navy, like in the dark looks black type of blue.
Yeah.
And you only see the blue tone when like light shines on it. I think that would look very, very nice. Logo, I think I want to see the yellow oval.
Okay.
Like I think I want to see it. And I know like we're gonna see it with Keaton's Batman here in the Flash pretty soon.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. So like there's the regular yellow oval that's just the bat symbol, but then there's also the one that kind of looks like a chess piece, like it's like added on to it, like the Batman Incorporated one. I think always looks nice. I would love to see that. The ear length, this is very controversial when it comes to Batman. I think I'm privy to the short ears rather than the long ears.
Are we talking about like, so let's use the marker as Keaton's height and Ben Affleck's height. You want Ben Affleck's height.
Okay, let me real quick. I'm gonna look at
Keaton's are kind of high, and then Ben Affleck's are pretty short. I'm in the middle. I want him in the middle of both of them.
I think I want them in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I think like the most recent image, like I'm looking at Batman Keaton from like trailers of the Flash.
Yeah.
In his like newer suit. And I just feel like the dome of the cowl and the ears looks kind of awkward if they're long.
Yeah.
And then looking at Affleck's Batman,
his look dope, but they are kind of small.
They are a bit small. I would I would need them to be a little bit longer. There is like this mock-up. I'll see if I can show you, Juice.
Yeah. I will say that I don't like the absurd length that some of them go to. Yeah, see, that mock-up's not bad. Like the chest plate looks horrible, I think.
Yeah, I don't like the chest plate and I don't like the logo, but the ears are a little bit better than that of what Batman was wearing in that of like Justice League, because I think they're the ones that he had are not prominent enough. Whereas I feel like you kind of need them a little bit taller to be like, oh, okay, like that's a bat,
Yeah. I would go with that. I think between Keaton's and Affleck's, I think would be the perfect length. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of that is like in a hidden fucking room under lock and key right now of designs and whatnot. Or they're just being passed around. They're just like hanging in James Gunn's office. Like, oh yeah, that looks okay. But anyways, so yeah, I would just go with Hush. Give me the Hush suit and I'll consider it a win. We got the Ponderer. Who would win in a standoff duo between Red Hood and Arthur Morgan?
I think he means standoff duel.
Yeah. But if they were in a standoff, who would they be standing? Like, who's Red Hood gonna love and who is Arthur Morgan loving? You know what I
mean? I think they both love Clint Eastwood.
Do they? Well, I was like, is Clint Eastwood alive during Red Dead Redemption? But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm sure Red Hood could stand more than Arthur would. So, like, I'm sure he would win a standoff because he'd probably be like, if he's not standing the Joker, he's probably standing Batman, So, I would say Red Hood wins there. But I mean, this isn't even an actual battle, in my opinion. Red Hood just destroys Arthur. As much as I love Arthur, like,
yeah, I love Arthur. Like, Arthur gave me a very emotional story in Red Dead. Like, I'm sorry, Jason's taking this home.
Yeah, I mean, I might say Arthur's a better character. So there's that, if you want to say that. Because I will say Arthur Morgan, Arthur Morgan made me feel some stuff. Red Hood's never made me feel that besides annoyed. Like, because he makes so many dumb decisions. So, yeah. But, so yeah, Red Hood would take it in both standoffs. Let's see. We got Arwitz. Do you think it's possible for the new DCU team to cast an actor that becomes iconic, or is it something too difficult to pull off with so many past actors for Batman? Like RDJ as Iron Man and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Well, first of all, that's kind of fucked up to put it that way, because RDJ was basically the first Iron Man, and Hugh Jackman was basically the first Wolverine. So
yes, but they're the only Iron Man and the only Wolverine. There hasn't been another Wolverine, and there hasn't been another Iron Man. As of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I think this is a difficult, like, the biggest thing Gunn is going to do in the DCU is two things. There's two biggest things that he can do: cast Superman and cast Batman.
Yeah.
Those are your two biggest obstacles, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of people will say, oh, I think like building the universe is going to be really hard. Connective tissue and all of this. That stuff comes later and it comes naturally.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to what people want, they want Batman and they want Superman.
Yeah.
I think that the amount of Batman that we have overshadows your casting.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what. I think that it does, because there's always going to be people that say Keaton or bust. Like, Keaton's the best Batman, no matter what. I don't care. There's a lot of people who just love the new things, and they say, oh, Pattinson's the best Batman, no matter what. Then you have the Snyder Bros that are just like Affleck or bust. Like, it's just and then people who love the Dark Knight. Oh, it's Christian Bale. Christian Bale's the best Batman. Blah, blah, blah. Like, there's just people who love who they love when it comes to Batman. I think that's never going to change. And with the idea of, is it possible to make the character iconic? You cannot make a character iconic with a casting. You have to make a character iconic with the stories that they're involved in.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I mean, can it be done? I think Affleck took over a lot of people's favorite Batman spot. You know what I mean? And it's because of the warehouse scene. I don't think it's because of his acting. I don't think his acting was so fucking amazing that everybody's like, oh my God. But he has that warehouse scene, and he's probably one of the coolest looking Batmans ever. Yeah. So, that's more shout out to costume design and Zack Snyder for that, which I've always praised him on that. Like, I'll talk a lot of shit about Zack Snyder, but I've always said he gave me a Batman I wanted.
He like, as much as I love Man of Steel, I think he should have started the universe with Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's kind of what they did there. So, like, I think you can, but it's like Clay said, like, you need good stories to go along with it. Now, I do think if, let's just say the DCU runs for the next 10 to 20 years, this is going to be everybody's Batman, no matter what. You know what I mean? Because I don't see Pattinson going past 3 movies. Like, I just don't see it. As much as he said, like, oh, I'm willing to play as long as you're going to 3 movies and that's it. Like, he's not going to do anything more. I think at this point, like, Reeves probably thought his universe could carry, the DC logo for, the foreseeable future. But now that there's going to be a big universe, I think James Gunn's going to be like, you got 3 movies, man. Do whatever between 3 movies and that's it. Like, you're not going past that, because you're only here because you were here before me. And I think that's kind of what it is.
Ooh, I don't know. It really depends on how these other spinoffs hit. Like, not just the Penguin, but like the rumors of like the Scarecrow, the Professor Pig, the Clayface. Like, I think they'll squeeze whatever they can, because we've seen Gunn knows the material, and as far as Elseworlds go, I think he's fine with whatever goes, as long as it's a good story.
I'll believe it when I see other Elseworld stories. I am going to hold true until, like, you were here first, so we're just going to let it play out, because you almost made $1 billion, but you didn't. No. And I think if the second movie doesn't perform as well or better, then I think it gets the ice starts getting a little thin. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Because if Brave and the Bold comes out and it fucking Billy like off the start, everybody's be like, damn, who really gives a fuck about realistic Batman? I got the whole Bat family over here. You know what I mean? Batman's fighting actual cool superheroes or supervillains like Clayface and shit, where you got a guy with a ice cream truck over here. You know what I mean? Like, I do think Brave and the Bold can really, punch the Batman in the dick if it does well. So we'll see. But yes, I do think it is possible, but there's a lot of factors for somebody to take over and be iconic. So, all right, so let me go ahead into the YouTube and sort from newest and start at the bottom. We got Clay. Which of these Mad Hatter castings would be the best fit? David Dasmauchen, I always forget how to pronounce his name properly, Toby Jones, or Eldon Henson? I don't know the last two dudes. Toby Jones or Eldon Henson? Never heard of them before.
Toby Jones. Okay, so Toby Jones, if you remember the Captain America First Avenger, he's the guy that ends up, if you go all the way to Winter Soldier, he's the guy that ends up in the machine. Like he's Arnim Zola. I'm gonna share a photo so that way you know who I'm talking about here. He's a very recognizable actor.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, he'd be a good Mad Hatter, to be honest.
Either him or the next one.
He's on Doctor Who.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah.
So Eldon Henson.
I mean, David Dasmauchen's already been in the DC, so
I don't. Okay, so I knew I recognized the last name. So you'll immediately recognize this dude. He was one of the greatest hockey players in the 90s in the Mighty Ducks. You know?
Oh, that looks like the dude from Daredevil. That's not him.
Yeah,
right?
It's him.
That is him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Why isn't it on his movies and TVs?
It's right there.
Oh, I couldn't read that. Wow. He was in Mockingjay? Did he take over for what's his name? Was he the stand-in?
I hope not. I don't know.
Seymour Hoffman or whatever. I think
he kind of he kind of looks like a Seymour Hoffman.
The other guy's better. Toby Jones.
Yeah, I would say
he looks like a Toby too. Like, that's so crazy. He looks like a Toby.
Well, not only that, like, no offense to Toby Jones, he just always plays that kind of like creeper dude, like the guy in the corner type of character. I would totally get Toby Jones.
Yeah, Toby Jones, or I don't know who else it could be. I really did think the dude from The Walking Dead that played the Mad Hatter in Gotham was really good. He was actually really creepy. But he played a creepier version of him. God damn, dude, The Walking Dead went on for so long. It had so many crazy actors come out of that show. But it was good. So yeah, Toby Jones, 100%. I would go with him. So there's that. We got Monkey says, why isn't Hush jealous of Clayface? Would he want to have his ability, or would he rather kill people to get it? Also, hope you're doing better, Clay. So yeah, it's about your health update. We talked about that last week.
Oh, yeah. Doing a lot better. Also on a little bit of medication. But I'm off of it. Like I was taking it as directed, but like it only says, hey, only use if needed. I haven't been needing it as much, been doing a lot more stretches, eating a little bit healthier, still trying to work off the carbonation and the caffeine. That's the hardest thing.
It takes a while. You kind of just got to do it, which sucks, because like the one thing I've noticed, especially getting back on junk food, which I'm trying to wean off of it again, is it's insane how your brain automatically, it's like, okay, we can do it one more time. Like it's not really that bad.
Well, that was the thing, right? Like I said it last time when I was out of the ER. We had just had the conversation about eating healthier. I was like, I'm hungry. Go to Whataburger. Yeah, it'll just be the last time, you know.
Yeah,
it'll be the last. It definitely was not, by the way.
You have to be very strict about it. Like you can't even like What I did was I set a date. I was like, all right, for the next 50 days. Like, we're not doing this for the next 50 days. And that's just kind of how you have to do it because
For
it's
me,
rough.
the worst part about eating healthier is snacks. Like I'm
Hmm.
always like, what's my snack food? What's my snack
Yeah.
food? Hey, I'm bored. Let's do like I need to be doing something or I'm
Hmm.
going to want to eat the junk food, you know?
Yeah. You got to change your snack food to being like something bland, like carrots or something. Or like, you know what's really good for you is actually like nuts, like almonds and cashews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's actually really good for you. Granted, you're supposed to eat like a handful though, and not like the whole bag. So like, it's very interesting. You when you actually look into a lot of the shit, you learn. I bought dark chocolate almonds. That's kind of something you can do because apparently dark chocolate's good for you.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm not a medical professional, so do not listen to everything I say, but that's what I've read. So it is what it is. But anyways, it would be Hush jealous of Clayface. I don't think so. I think Hush is very
No, he would. And the reason why I'm saying he's not is because he's perfect at his craft.
mhm,
He is a surgeon, you know? He is and he also has an ego about him.
mhm.
Like I feel like he would have an ego on how perfect he can do these things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I feel like with Clayface, he could point out the imperfections of what
Mhm.
Clayface is trying to mimic, I think
Yeah.
would be his thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think he would be jealous. I also think that like Hush, I don't know, man. I think the one thing people don't, and I've talked about this on the podcast, and I still think I would love to write this story, is we've never learned how Hush became as good as he is. Not as a surgeon. I can believe the surgeon thing, but how does he mimic people so well?
Yeah.
Like, how do people believe he is Bruce Wayne? Like, I want to learn that part of Hush. And I'm glad nobody's touched on it, and they better not because they'll do it wrong. I know they will. Let me just write it. But yeah, I don't think he'd be jealous of him. Also, Clayface is very unstable. We just saw that in that last issue of his one shot. So,
Yeah.
Alexis Barrera, what Batman slash DC moment totally surpassed negative expectations, basically proving any doubt wrong? Mine is Phoenix Joker. Was there a big backlash for Phoenix Joker? I understand that people didn't want the movie, but
I
I feel
no,
like,
I it's hard because I think we covered it on this podcast.
yeah,
The biggest things were the fact that news media was
mhm.
pushing this movie as like, hey, this movie's going to create killers.
Yeah,
Um, it
not
was
the
it
guns in
was
this country. The movie,
no the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Dude, do you remember going to that theater and like six cops just being like in the
yeah,
lobby, dude? It was wild.
yeah. It's
Um,
crazy.
I I think that there was I don't think there was ever a doubt that Phoenix couldn't do it
Yeah, I feel
because
like Affleck had more backlash.
I was gonna say Affleck.
Yeah.
I was kind of the guy when I heard Affleck was casted. I was like, dude, that's gonna be awesome because
I
I
was
knew
against it. I was like,
I
he's
I
Daredevil.
saw his shoulders in a suit once, and I was like,
Mhm.
that's Batman. But I did see a lot of reaction on Facebook at the time of
Yeah,
like, this is the worst decision ever.
that's how I was.
Now I was not even alive at the time, but Keaton's reaction was the same way for people.
Yeah.
Um, Keaton did a movie called Mr. Mom before he was
Mhm.
Batman. And so people were like, this dude is gonna be Batman? Like,
Yeah.
you gotta be freaking kidding me. So I
I
think
think a lot
there's
of I think a lot of
well,
people don't take into account the backlash is so much more amplified now just because of social media, right? But like back in the day, the Keaton one's interesting because the only way you knew people hated that is they had to write into newspapers to tell the newspaper that they hated it.
yeah,
And I want to remember, I think that's a story. Like there was a column of people were like, this guy, Mr. Mom. And he talks about that. But also, I mean, the internet was a thing, but it wasn't super huge. Heath Ledger got a lot of shit too. Because he was in
yeah.
10 Things I Hate About You. And they're like, this fucking pretty boy is going to be
This can't be
Joker.
Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best Joker of all time now, apparently. He's not Mark Hamill, but, he is what he is. He's great. But yeah, I think comic book fans are just dumb. And that's including me. I've been a part of it. I thought that I didn't need the Joker movie. I didn't need it. And then it proved me wrong. And I was just like, I admit that I was wrong. I didn't need this movie, but it's amazing.
And here's the thing also, we may not like the direction that Reeves gave Pattinson for Batman,
Yeah.
but look at Pattinson's other movies that he did make.
Yeah.
He's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people just take his experience with Twilight and they're like, oh shit, like we covered it on this podcast as well.
Yeah.
Oh, sparkly Batman. It was like that for months, guys, months. Sparkling Batman, sparkling Batman, sparkling Batman. Like, it's just we get too we get too, I don't even know the adjective, engrossed into our thoughts of
Yeah.
how these characters are portrayed on a page compared to what they can do on film. Like, and I think we need to calm down a little bit of it. Like,
Yeah.
we have seen the advancement of what superhero genre and movies can be. Like, I love Man of Steel because it was the first Superman movie that I saw Superman move and fight like Superman in the comics.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I was like, this is the greatest Superman movie I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting to that point in almost every superhero movie.
Yeah.
And so it's only going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. But I don't know, man. I don't think Phoenix was that bad in my opinion. I don't remember the backlash. I just think people were saying we don't need a Joker movie. I think that was the biggest thing. But anyways, going on from that, Nathan says, to be honest, there should be more lewd in DC media. It brings in the money. But which would make audience cringe the most? Catwoman using her whip for something else on Bruce, which I'm kind of like, I don't know exactly where they're going with that. I feel like it means like sexy time, but like what's something different? I would automatically assume that that's what they mean, but I guess people would think that, oh, it's meant to hurt him, as in like a weapon. And I guess, okay, yeah. Robin looking at R34 on the back computer and having a serious talk about addiction. Or 3, having Hugo Strange's Batman blow-up doll appear in live action. Leto Robbie lovemaking scene. Nobody would care about number 4. That wouldn't cringe. Because people went to go see Wolf of Wall Street just for Margot Robbie in that movie. So that's
true. Yeah.
I think, honestly, if I'm looking at all these, which one's going to make people cringe is the addiction talk. I think the Hugo Strange thing would be memed and it would be like really weird. And people would be like, what the fuck? But it happened in a book. I think, unfortunately, in this country, and I think in the world, we don't take a lot of mental illness and addictions properly. And I think people would be like, oh my, addicted to porn? Really? Really? That's what we're going to be talking about? You're going to have Robin talking about porn addiction? Really? The fucking left agenda is just trying to push, it's going to be that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So I think people would cringe the most at that, but I think it would be a stupid reason to cringe. But damn, can you imagine fucking 8K porn, 12K porn on the fucking back computer? Like, and it's echoing throughout the fucking cave. Like, holy shit. Be crazy stuff, man. But yeah, I don't know if you agree with that, but I think number 2 is probably what I would go with.
Yeah, I think number 2 would be the most cringe. I think 3 would be more shock value than anything.
Yeah.
And then, guys, you need to understand that they almost put naked Catwoman in the comic. Trying to get into the Wayne Manor. So I don't think 1 will do anything for anybody other than be like, hey, where can I find it?
Yeah. I mean, if you go look at Babs Tarr's drawings, she has basically that. Catwoman using her whip for something else. So go subscribe to Babs Tarr. Actually, don't subscribe to Babs Tarr because I have, and that photo is not there. Shit. It's like a print. So like when she's having a sale, you have to buy it as a print. She doesn't have the actual thing. I looked already, guys. But let's see. Jason Dodd says, do you think you would have been just as upset if Selena was with Onyx instead of Valmont? Onyx is the black female character, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And what character would you have chosen opposed to Valmont for her to be with, and why? So here's the thing. My problem isn't that like Valmont was a man and that Selena was hooking up with him. It's he was a fucking shit character. There was nothing built up to make him good, awesome, fun, interesting. He was a shit fucking character. Onyx has a lot of how do I say I don't want to say clout, but she has a lot of source material in the comics. So I could at least make up a reason why Selena would maybe date Onyx or whatever. Like maybe there's stories in the past, maybe they've teamed up together. Like I could go back and look at that, you know?
Yeah.
I'd still probably would be like, I don't really like that. You know what I mean? If I had to choose for her to be with anybody, it would probably be Slam Bradley Jr. because they've been together before, they've worked together, and something like that. I'm trying to think of any other characters that
because we need to remember Juice was so peeved when New Cop was in Gotham and was making the moves on Selena.
Mm-hmm.
And then Father Valley, killed him, and Juice was like, yeah,
that was awesome, dude. That was good because I think that is what was good in a story. Because like we were only reading Catwoman because Howard was towing the line so much, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like Ram V did it well to where it was subtle, and it's like this could be a new love interest, and I'm like, I don't like that, and he toyed you along and then fucking killed him. And you're just like, oh, yes, that's awesome. But at the same time, you felt that like, oh, she's probably going to cheat on Batman here. Whereas Teenie Howard was all like, this is all I have to offer. This is the only reason people are going to read my book. So I have to stretch this out for like 15 issues or whatever it was. And it was bad. And then it just happens. And you're just like, this was fucking shit. She could have went in a better way. She could have done what Ram V did. And I would have been like, oh, damn, that she fucking toyed with us the whole time. But no, she was like, I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to have them fuck and I'm going to have them be whatever. And then she's going to kill him. And that's when people are going to be like, oh my God, nobody fucking cared. Everybody's like, you made her do the thing that we didn't want her to do. So we fucking hate. It's like having Batman toe the line of possibly killing all the time. And then you have him actually kill. And you're just like, why would you do that? Like, that now I hate Batman. Like he broke his rule.
Well, like the one thing for me is going back to this question is I hate the idea of will they, won't they? Because it's been going on for so damn long. And for Catwoman, if she decides to be with anybody else, I need them to solidify, hey, Bruce, I am no longer with you. I'm going to be with this person.
Yeah.
Even if like 30 issues down the road, they get back together.
Mm-hmm.
I need there to be a for sure, like none of this, oh, I'll always be with you, or oh, I'll always have your support, because then the fans will always be like, they're gonna get back together.
Yeah.
They're gonna get back together. Like I'm tired. I'm kind of tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want them to be together because of the same exact reason we gave so many months ago.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a reason why Batman can't have a family.
Yeah.
Easy as that.
Yeah, I don't know. And there's like precedent of them having a kid together. So like if you can actually just age up John Kent and fucking make him grow all these ages and he's part of a new Trinity or whatever, I don't see why Helena can't be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes really no sense to me. But it is what it is. DC makes those weird decisions. But no, I mean, I Onyx over Valmont, the story needs to be there. Like you have to give me a reason to care. But I think Slam Bradley Jr., if I had to pick somebody, they have precedent there, so I'd go with that. Anthony Morales, what was the first comic book you ever read that got you hooked to superheroes? Hush, probably, that I can recall. Like actually sitting down and reading a whole book was probably Hush, and I think that's why I love it so much. I probably read something before that, but I was more of the cartoon guy. Like I watched cartoons that had like Batman and Spider-Man and X-Men, and I thought those were amazing. I never really thought comics were a necessity because I was like, why read when I can watch? You know?
Yeah.
And then I played the video games. I basically did everything but the source material, which is like a lot of what the general audience does. And then at the time I was dating this girl and she always wanted to go to Barnes and Noble and stuff. And I was like, well, I don't want to fucking read anything else. So I was like, let me go to the comic section and see what they got. and I started going through the books and stuff. And I don't know if she bought me Hush or if I ended up buying Hush on my own. I don't remember, but I just remembered flipping through the pages and seeing Batman punch Superman. And I thought it was the coolest fucking shit ever. And so I was just like, oh, I didn't need to read this, you know? And it's also when like Selena or Bruce and Selena kissed, they say for the first time, which really wasn't the first time. But you know, shit like that. But yeah, that was mine.
I'm trying to look at it. I can't remember the title. I can very much vividly remember the cover.
Mm.
Um, it's like a dark cover with Dark Side in the background with like an angry Superman front and center. I
Uh-huh.
think it might be Adventures of Superman or a Superman title. I don't think it was Action Comics. I just did a Google search for like Dark Side Superman cover, and I'm just not seeing it.
Oh, okay.
But I randomly saw it at a supermarket
Hmm.
when my grandfather took me because he was like grabbing a prescription or something, and I saw it
Yeah.
on the rack, and I was like, "This looks so cool!" And that was the first comic that I read, and I was like, "Yeah, I want to read more of these." Since then, though, the ones that I can actually remember reading verbatim was issue number because I started at because again I was just a noob at comics that I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand. Issue number 4 of Jeff Johns's Teen Titans run,
Mm-hmm.
um, and there was a like X-Men Academy book with Quake, the
Mm.
introduction of like Quake or whatever,
Yeah.
um, which I thought was really cool. And that was when I was in like 5th or 6th grade. So those 3 were like my first comics.
Nice, nice. Yeah, moving on to Eduardo de la Cruz. Who the hell do you think I am? I'm the goddamn who would win. Lex Luthor versus Reed Richards, Deathstroke versus Darth Vader, Conor McKing versus Yo Mama. Stay strong, Clay. If you need a free back chiropractor sesh, just piss off Bane. He's got good reviews. So there you go. Um, I'm not gonna sit here and say I know a lot about Reed Richards, so I don't really know.
So so it's funny that you say this because recently they brought back an alternate Reed Richards
Mhm.
from the Ultimate Universe who is absolutely evil.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take those two because
Mhm.
it's one evil mind against the other because I think that's what this would be, and I think that's what Dela Cruz is trying to put around as far as like a battle of the minds.
Mhm.
um the only thing is, uh, Luther gets his hands dirty when it's the absolute last resort,
Mhm.
whereas Reed, being a metahuman, being somebody with superpowers, has no problem with getting his hands dirty. Yes, he has a super mind. He will manipulate whoever he needs to get things done, but
Mhm.
he can still use his powers. And so I think Reed Richards would be the one who wins this one.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. Deathstroke versus Darth Vader. Dude, the Force choke is so powerful. It's so OP. I'm
Yeah.
going Darth Vader, and his
Uh,
his sword
he,
cuts you in half.
I was gonna say he has a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I just played Jedi Survivor,
Mhm.
where spoilers. I'm not gonna say in what capacity,
Mhm.
but there is a fight with Darth Vader. Um, Holy shit, that took me like 2 hours.
Did you
I
beat that frog character?
the
That's supposed to
frog.
be super hard. There's like a
Oh,
super hard
so
frog character.
the only reason why people are fighting that frog character
Mhm.
is to get the chest that's behind him.
Mhm.
So what I did is there's 2 other enemies within the area. I basically strung them along, opened the trap. They fell through. They distracted him. I went
Mhm.
to the chest, opened the chest, got the chest, and then I died from the frog. And then
Mhm.
I checked my inventory, and the chest had been opened. Like I already had it, so I
Yeah.
just didn't go back. I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
like it's gonna be in the footage. So from when we eventually get there, I'll probably make it a montage
Oh,
of
okay.
like me dying, but I
Mhm.
eventually get the chest. So
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I would go Darth Vader. And Conor King versus man, my mom beat the shit out of Conor King.
yeah, I'm sorry. Like there is one person that I would ultimately say that I can actually feel ultimately fearful from, and that's my mom.
Yeah.
So Connor McKean got nothing on my mama.
Yeah. And last one, we got Ron, which this might be first time commenter. I'm not too sure, but what's up, Ron? Bruce Greenwood, Troy Baker, or Roger Craig Smith as the voice of Batman. All were pretty good in my opinion. Roger was the voice of Batman in Arkham Origins. Troy voiced Batman and Bruce in the Telltale series. The music Batman is listening to is his own theme. Why? Because he's Batman. Let's not forget Prince did songs for Michael Keaton's Batman. Superman, I can't get used to anything that doesn't have the original theme in it. So this was just part of our discussion that we were having from, I think, a viewer question previously.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know that Origins had a different Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was very controversial back in the day.
Yeah.
Like that because the thing was when I think there's an interview when oh snap, I forgot his name.
Michael, are you talking about the voice actor?
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy.
Conroy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I almost said Kevin Costner.
Oh,
Conroy. Conroy, he was talking about at a convention, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be in the next Batman game," and they're like, "Oh, Arkham Origins?" He's like, "Arkham what?" They were already making Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
And so he had no idea that they had chosen a different Batman for Arkham Origins because he didn't even know the game was being made.
Yeah.
So he basically spoiled, and he got a phone call from from Rocksteady, and he was like, "Hey, like, you better cut the shit out." Like, he talks about it. It's actually a really funny interview.
That's crazy. Interesting. So yeah, freaking freak on the freak, man. That's pretty nuts. So that's badass. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I still think Kevin Conroy's a goat. So I'd always go with him for any Batman voice. But unfortunately, that can't be a dude. But I don't want to hear AI Kevin Conroy. That's definitely do not want to hear that. So I do let him rest in peace. And anybody else that they would use their voice for. But all right, that's all we got for listener questions. So moving on to the comic portion of the podcast. Now, I only read 2 books. I'm assuming you read 2 books as well.
Yay! Cool. What was the one that you didn't read?
Oh, was there more than 2?
Yeah, there was more than 2.
I read Tom King's The Brave and the Bold.
Okay.
And I read Batman and Superman.
Okay, cool. There was Titans.
I didn't read that shit.
Yeah, no, I was going to read it, but then I was just running short on time this morning, and so I was like, I'm pretty sure Juice is gonna forget about this one, so I'm just gonna skip it.
Yeah, I didn't even pay attention to Titans. I was thinking about actually reading The Vigil, because that's Ram V's new thing.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't read that either. I did skim it. Catwoman also came out this week. That is her getting back into the suit and going around the city, and she's clashing with the other Catwoman. It doesn't matter. Teenie Howard's still writing it, so you don't need to read it. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the world's finest before we talk about Tom King's Brave and the Bold. I only read Tom King's portion. I didn't read the Superman story and all that. I didn't read anything else.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I only read.
I wasted King's even more of my time. Cool.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you were going to read the Superman one though. So, but yeah. So the Batman's World's Finest. I have to say, man, this is probably one of the most fun books that DC is dropping right now. So I'm not a fan of Mark Waid outside of this book right now. Everything else with all the magic and shit, I do not give a fuck about. But this right here is gold, in my opinion.
I have to agree. When it comes to like the craziness of the story, the dramatic like pauses, like what are we gonna do type moments, like how are the heroes going to win, like type of feelings. There's one thing that I do kind of wish didn't happen in this book, and which is that he put too many characters in here that I don't think modern fans of comics know who they are. Okay. So just gonna spoil it right here. One of my favorite groups of DC showed up in this book.
Mhm.
Challengers of the Unknown. They're the people in the all purple suits.
Okay.
Nobody's gonna know who these people are
Yeah, I
unless
didn't know
you're
who they were.
hardcore DC fans. Um, these guys were very popular in the 60s, 70s, maybe even earlier than that. Um, Scott Snyder tried to reboot them in the Dawn of DC, or right? Is it not Dawn of DC?
No,
That's
he's not
what's
part of it.
no,
Who
the what was
Heroes and Villains?
no, New Age of Heroes,
Oh, okay.
when they brought all those like new characters like the
Yeah.
Hulk guy and whatever. Yeah. The Challengers of the Unknown was like a 6-issue miniseries. It was delayed a whole bunch because Scott Snyder was already doing a whole bunch for DC
Yeah.
at the time. So the book didn't last. So seeing them here was really fun for me, but I was
Mhm.
just like reading this book. I was like, there's way too much going on.
Yeah.
But it's still really fun to read.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I mean, usually I will say when a lot of shit's going on, I will have a problem with it. But it's because I think the reason why it worked here was it was a way to show that every character that Batman and Robin and Superman could have called for help was busy. And so I
Yeah.
didn't mind them showing so many different characters because it shows like, oh, that is what I would assume is happening in the DC universe is the heroes are always doing something. Like they're always busy, you know what I mean? So I thought it was really interesting here to showcase that because yeah, they couldn't call for help. Like Robin at one point in this book is like, I gotta call the Teen Titans, and they're like, hey man, we're kind of busy with the awesome threesome, which I was like, that's a totally different book. I was just like, I didn't know that name could pass anymore. But yeah, so the Titans were fighting somebody, like you said, the Challengers of Unknown were fighting somebody, and like everybody was just in trouble. And it got to a point in this book because this book went really fast.
Yes.
Like it had, on the last issue, we know Robin was trying to save Superman because he was fighting the now known as Ultra Morpho, who can change into a bunch of elements and stuff like that. He was using a lot of kryptonite to hurt Superman. So Robin gets him away. Metamorpho shows up, starts fighting him, and it's just like getting all crazy. Then Batman shows up with a Metal Men suit, which I thought was kind of cool.
Which ultimately made Metamorpho think, "Oh, I got an idea, Soups. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let's see if we could do this." And he gives Superman his lead costume from the freaking animated series,
Yeah,
but puts it on him as himself.
yeah.
I thought that was cool too.
Yeah. So that was pretty awesome, but that doesn't stop Ultramorpho. He basically is able to come back and still fight all of these people. He throws something on Metamorpho that's causing him to basically start dying. Robin gets his leg all fucked up and then he's like bleeding out. And the Metal Men end up saving them because Ultramorpho stole Batman and Superman and flew off with him. So Metamorpho is really pissed at this point. This is kind of when we get a montage of a lot of the other heroes fighting as well. He's like, hello, we were fucking fighting. Why'd y'all run away like little bitches? And they're like, our first objective as the Metal Men is to save human life. And y'all were about to die. So that's what we're doing. And I thought
Yeah.
it was pretty cool that like they did save Robin's leg by putting like metal around it, I guess, or like some kind of like metal bandage that looks like it comes from the gold Metal Men. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was kind of cool. And I loved the fight between Metamorpho and Robin.
And the argument, yeah, he
Yeah.
he he tells him like man, like you can't even save your own partner. And Dick is like, don't you fucking dare
Yeah.
question my loyalty to Batman, like to Superman, let alone Batman.
Yeah.
Like, don't freaking tell me that I'm not loyal to my
Mhm.
partner. And that's when he starts to call everybody to see what they can do. We are seeing that like you said, Titans are busy. We get a cut to where Superman and Batman are,
Yeah.
and again, characters that not a whole lot of people are gonna know
Mhm.
are in this factory working. And Superman's like, what the fuck is going on? What's on our necks? What's going on here? They're inhibitors, so people can't use their powers. Characters like Magnus, Dr. Cyber, Toyman, and Bug-Eyed Bandit. I haven't seen Bug-Eyed Bandit in forever, and he just
I had
shows up here for
no idea who
no
that was.
reason.
Yeah.
And we see that they're like, oh, it's Amazo. Like Amazo is here. He's, the one that's doing all this. And Batman's like, no, Amazo's right over there
Yeah.
working and tinkering just like everybody else. And the character that is running the show, I kind of laughed at this name, is Numazo.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cheesy, but I'm like, I like it because it's just so comic booky. You know what I mean? And it's like with the way the story's been playing out, I don't mind the little bit of campiness that it has, because it works so well with these characters. But yeah, so it looks like a robotic, basically AI version of Amazo is now running the whole show, which I think plays in very nicely with everything that's kind of happening in the world right now. That there is this robotic craziness. And it does end with, after that big reveal of New Mazo, we have Robin calling the girl he was trying to date for some help. And she's fighting some acid monster or whatever his name is. Chemo. She's fighting Chemo, and I like there's a little banter here. He's like, "Hey, we need your help." And she's like, "Is this customer service? Like, I'm gonna have to put you on hold or whatever." And
I do like Wade's like kind of banter that he does in this book. It does give me a good chuckle. But he's like, "No, I'm being serious. Like, this is what's going on. Like, I need help." And she's like, "Cool, let me do." Like, I like how Supergirl's like, "Okay, this is only going to take me a second, and then I'll help you out."
Yeah,
because of course she's Supergirl.
Yeah.
But then something goes wrong with the Batmobile, and Robin's about to crash into a wall.
Yeah.
Going, who knows how fast?
Yeah, and it says the rise of the overlords. Do you think she's going to get there in time to save him?
Well, I don't know, because like she's seeing, okay, Robin, where are you? And but she knows that Superman and Batman are in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I think that she will immediately assume, well, if Clark is there, Batman is safe. So if Robin's not responding, I need to go find him. And she'll do the exact same thing that Clark would do, listen for a heartbeat, listen for his voice or whatever. And I think she's gonna stop the car.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool.
But I've always wondered, of course it's all comic book, right? Like, how is she going to stop it without injuring Robin?
Yeah, we always just
you just assume like, oh, she's gonna stop the car and that's what's gonna save him, right?
Yeah.
But technically, with him going so fast, her brute force of just stopping the car, it should still crush the car.
Yeah, it's one of those things you can't ask, because then you get into science, and like once you bring science into comics, it doesn't necessarily work. That's why fucking Homelander doesn't do shit in The Boys, right? He's like, if I try to save this plane, it's gonna rip right through it. Like, it's just not gonna work. And you can't bring science into comics, Clay. It just doesn't work. You can try, but it just doesn't work. But yeah, that is it for that book right there. I enjoyed it. That's the one thing, like I said, Mark Waid is doing that I look forward to reading. So pretty crazy stuff. But let's move on to the last book we have of the week that we're covering. There is a lot of stuff that happened this week. New Cyborg came out this week. Black Adam 11 was the thing. Bad Girls 18, which I can't believe that's still going, which is crazy.
Yeah, wild.
Flash. So Flash 799 and Wonder Woman 799. We're about to hit two big milestones for Flash and Wonder Woman coming up. Which, are they doing something special for Flash 800? I mean, I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything other than a new creative team. Jeremy Adams is jumping off of the book, which is wild because he has made the book very, very successful recently. So we'll see what happens.
I don't know. And then Dawn of DC Primer, whatever the hell that is.
I don't know what that is.
But yeah, anyways, a bunch of books if you guys are interested in that. But let's go ahead and jump over to the Batman Brave and the Bold, which this is going to be, I think, a 4-part series, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. I think they lied to us with this book.
Really?
When they said, well, I think it was covered, but I totally forgot about it. They're like, oh, Batman Brave and the Bold by Tom King. And then I think later on, they were like, it's an anthology series. this is not what I thought it was going to be, or I
Mhm.
think wanted out of this book. Like
What'd you want? Like an actual series?
I wanted like an actual series, kind
Yeah.
of like the old school Brave and the Bold is an anthology.
Mhm.
I don't remember it being like several stories within each issue. I think
Yeah.
it's like one issue being another story, like one issue being one story, issue two being a complete different story, issue three being a complete different story, like
Mhm.
that type of anthology. This, I just think there's like,
It's like Urban Legends.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think this is just to probably, I don't even know how much this is going to be.
No
I'm
idea.
thinking with 4 stories, this is a 50-ish. I think it's going to be the same price as Urban Legends,
Mhm.
which was a 7.99 book
Yeah.
every single month.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Batman was gonna be in every story when they originally announced this because it's Batman Brave and the Bold, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem like 4 separate stories. Now there is 2 Batman stories, if I'm not mistaken. One is done by Dan Mora. But again, it looks like they're trying to do the manga thing and it's like a future state kind of story. And I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
care.
I will say this. Jimenez tried to do a Batman story in Batman Black and White. It was
Hmm.
horrible.
Yeah.
Dan Mora tried to do a Batman story in this, and I think he was writing either Terry McGinnis or a like child of Terry McGinnis
Yeah.
because it is very like teenage or like something like I'll just say because we're not going to really cover it.
Yeah.
Um, it feels very much of what Dan Mora's roots are. It feels like Power Rangers.
Mm.
He has like
Was he the
instead
writer?
yeah, Dan Mora did the story and art, and
Oh,
then
okay.
somebody else did the letters.
Oh.
So
No, I
uh
mean for Power Rangers.
no, I mean, but he was the artist for Power Rangers,
No,
and
and
like
I'm just saying I just didn't know if he wrote on it.
no, I think he was involved in story for like the big event like Shattered Grid. I think that he
Mm.
was involved in a little bit of the story there. But when it comes to like just overall what he's most famous for, I think it's Power Rangers overall. So he was
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, let me incorporate this into a Batman story." So instead of a Robin, instead of a sidekick, he has a mechanical bat that he calls, I think, what was the name of it?
I don't know. I saw that, but I was just like, what is happening here? It was future state, so I just didn't care.
Yeah, he calls him V2. He calls him like
Okay.
version 2. He calls it V2. It's this small little bat, and there's like a bonding sequence, and it makes him into like a super mega Batman.
Hmm.
And like there's like names for his attacks.
Yeah.
Like he's like commence Dark Knight kick, and
Yeah.
like he
Oh,
like it's very very like cheesy Power Rangers type stuff.
yeah.
And like I like it for that, but for a Batman story, it just wasn't a like great.
Yeah. Um, it's look, I appreciate when people try to get out of their comfort zone and do other things, but it's situations like this that it shows you that just because you're a great artist doesn't mean you're a good writer.
Yeah, and Dick Grayson and Jason Todd are brothers in this story.
All right. It is an Elseworld, just to clarify for anybody that didn't know that. Because it
Yeah.
is even in the book says on another planet in a different time or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I will always respect people that try to do new things, but we have seen many a times in DC history alone. I'm pretty sure Marvel is just as bad. That a lot of writers try to do they want to wear every hat. Because here's the thing: if you are an artist yourself, you have so much more power to be able to do things on your own, but it doesn't mean you're going to do them well because first of all, you probably spent your whole life drawing, right? Like I think a lot of artists were just always the doodlers in class that did really cool shit or whatever. And they don't spend as much time on creating characters or like storytelling or reading a bunch of books or like watching a bunch of movies. And I think a lot of writers do that. And so that's why it works so well when you have a writer and an amazing artist, right?
Yeah.
But when you're an amazing artist and you're like, well, I've read a bunch of scripts, I can definitely do that. It's not the same. It's not the same. That's like saying like, oh yeah, I've seen Batman drawn a million times. I can draw Batman. It's not the same. I cannot draw Batman. Not well at all. And
Yeah.
so I don't know, man. I respect it, but I do think I like Dan. Was it Dan Waters that was the writer and artist? Or what is a book that we saw recently where the artist did everything? The Catwoman book.
It
That
was
was
the Catwoman
amazing.
book. Yeah.
That was amazing. I wish there would be more stuff like that, but we also saw how long it took that book to come out. So,
Yeah.
like, people need to understand that too. Like, when you're doing everything, it's going to take even longer because you have to be like, oh, how am I going to write the story? And like, oh, I should actually be drawing it right now. And I think that's probably something some writers do. They probably write and draw at the same time, right? When that's not how it should be. Your story should come before you start drawing. You should never try to wing something. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's what they do, but when you have the ability to wing something, I think people try to wing things. So it is what it is. But anyways, let's talk about this Tom King book because this has been referred to as the first meeting of Joker and Batman. I mentioned this when I first heard about that. I was like, fucking Tom King, man. I love you, but I had a story for this. I've already in my brain figured out how I could make this canon, but at the same time still do my story. Because it's what you got to do. It's called creative writing. But overall, Clay, before we dive into what actually happened in this book, what did you think about this? Kind of a quick read, in my opinion. Not super crazy.
It was a quick read.
A lot of dialogue at some points.
A lot of dialogue, and I was gonna say a little bit wordy for me.
I think Tom King is gaining, and again, I love his writing. He's doing the cussing a little too much.
Yeah, that was my biggest gripe.
Yeah.
There's this character in this book, who is, and I think the argument could be said like, oh, it's supposed to be this low life guy that has
Yeah.
nothing going for him. He's scared out of his mind, so of course he's gonna cuss up a storm.
Yeah.
To kind of show how big and bad he is to Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It made his pages unreadable.
Yeah.
To where I didn't even try to think about what curse word he was trying to say. I was just reading every other word around those, and it made it unreadable. Like it just kind of got annoying. I like the visual and the story that was telling.
Yeah.
Like Batman is going after an abuser. I'll just spoil it right there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only a part of what I think the bigger story is going to be.
Yeah.
For this overall like overarching story over the next few issues.
Yeah.
It was great. I like that part.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a very wordy story. Like it was heavy in dialogue. And there's one moment where like Bruce Wayne, not Batman, Bruce Wayne looks at somebody and they literally draw the bat cowl eyes on him.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
No, not for me.
I get what they were trying to symbolize because he is talking because a guy like he's talking to this douchey other elite person. He's like, where you been? Essentially, like, what have you been up to? You know, you snorting coke, you fucking getting drunk, you banging some ladies. Like, I got worse stories than you, Bruce. Like, what are you? And obviously, Bruce knows what this guy's hinting at, right? And he's all like, well, let me just say that I was out chasing a demon and I always catch the demon. And that's when it shows like the bat cow eyes and the guy's like, what? And I think it's just supposed to like, I don't think it worked, but I also don't think how you would do it with a regular Bruce Wayne face on how to make him like look intimidating. You know what I mean? The only time I've ever seen Bruce Wayne look really intimidating is that time when he got, was it in Tom King's book? I don't know if it was in Tom King's book, but he got thrown through the mansion and then he like got up and he was like fucking looked like Ben Affleck walking down a fucking hallway. I forgot who threw him.
Yes,
through.
it
Like,
was Jimenez. It was Jimenez. Yeah.
He looked like maybe it was a Tynan book then, right?
No, I think it was Justice League.
Oh,
for Scott Snyder.
Yeah, so either way, that's the only time I've ever seen Bruce like look extremely intimidating. So I don't know how they would have done that here. I have seen on Twitter people enjoy this panel. So I think we might be in the majority here. Yeah, they're like, oh, this is cool. But I also think it's one of those things where like I don't know. I feel like we read the story as like a whole. And again, a lot of people like moments when it comes to Batman, right? Like, again, my famous quote is people don't read Batman, they see Batman. And I think that's kind of what this is. Like, I think a lot of people are always going to do that. And so, yeah, I thought that was a little silly. I understand what they were trying to do, but it did look kind of weird. Other than that, though, like, I think the book is beautifully drawn. We do kind of have this story going on of somebody is after this guy that has like a crazy diamond, and they're saying that he's going to die at midnight or something like that. So we have Gordon and all his GCPD basically protecting this guy in the diamond, right? So that's one story that's going on. Gordon seems very fresh and new. He's dropping a lot of lines like, if we're all here waiting to protect this asshole, like, who's out protecting the other people? And that's when we kind of see like Batman's out there, you know, beating the shit out of this abuser guy or leaving him on. Yeah, that's fucking great. That's an intimidating Bruce Wayne right there. That looks badass. Clay was showing the photo from what we were talking about, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so anyways, freaking I enjoyed that Batman was, you know, Gordon was building Batman up through his words, like just subtly, you know, because I was assuming Gordon doesn't know who Batman is at this point, because this is very early on, right? So he was like, if we're here protecting somebody, who's out there protecting the citizens of Gotham? And that then it cuts to Batman. He's fighting this guy or whatever, or he's intimidating this guy by possibly leaving him for dead on a train track, you know, after he tied up his leg. And this guy's cussing up a storm, and he's all like, I deserve justice, man. And he's like, you do. And then he like stomps his face. And then we have cutting in between that, we have the Bruce party where he does the Batman cow face. Alfred talking to some snooty ass people at this party, of course, lying for Bruce. And then throughout this whole thing, we have a child talking to Joker. And Joker is not saying much. I do enjoy that Tom King decided to use the silent panels, like silent film panels with text for Joker's dialogue.
Yeah,
I think it made it feel different. I thought it was cool. And you kind of just had Joker drawn as like a crazy Joker, like, or a very scary type of Joker throughout this whole book. Yeah. And as he's talking to this child, she's all like, she's like, oh, why are you in the rain? Like, your balloon's going to get popped and like stuff like that. Like, you should have an umbrella. And I will say, this child spoke eloquently, because holy shit, some of the stuff that child was saying, I was like, that's a really profound young child. Like, holy shit. I do think King should have maybe wrote her. I don't know how old this child is. If this child's like 8 years old or something, then maybe I think a child would understand, because she was talking about like life and consequences and stuff. And I was just like, how old are you? My niece has said some profound things when I talked to her, and she's 6, so I can kind of believe it. But I think if this child's like 8 or something, then I'm like, all right, maybe I'd understand it. Because she's talking about how like, oh yeah, I let my balloon go once and it went to heaven or whatever. And Joker's like, if I give you my balloon, are you going to let it go? And she's like, no, like, I learn from my stuff. Like, you make a mistake once and twice and they have consequences, and you learn from them to never do them again. And I'm just like, God damn. Okay. So like, that was very interesting. Joker's just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll help you out or whatever. And he ends up getting this girl to her father, who has been trying to call the GCPD and is like, hey, my kid is missing. Like, I literally took my eyes off her for a second and she disappeared because her mother didn't show up. And I'm assuming Joker killed the mother. So that's why she didn't show up to the park and kind of set up this whole thing. So, and he's like, yeah, I can't find her. And like, I've been waiting on hold for you guys. And you guys don't send anybody. You say you're going to help, but you're not helping. And Joker ends up finally, after this conversation with this child, takes this child to her father. Everybody knows where he lives and everything, takes her home. And he's like, this guy is just so happy to see his child, right? He has no problem talking to this girl. Like, I mean, talking to Joker. Like, he's not scared of Joker because nobody knows who Joker is at this point, right? This is what we're assuming. Also, I do want to say, I think Tom King, his version of Joker is not the Scott Snyder Joker. Because in this book, he said, I fell into a vat of acid, and that's what changed my skin color. So I think he is going with the Alan Moore Joker story that doesn't involve Batman. Because Scott Snyder's version involves Batman. He is there when Joker falls into the vat.
Well, it never. Oh well, I guess this is the first interaction
Yeah.
with Batman.
But I guess you could technically be like, well, technically I wasn't the
Joke.
Joker,
Yeah, yeah. I
you
think
know.
that's the caveat there.
But I feel like King respects Moore's version and goes with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's how I'm reading it, but everybody has their own interpretation. But I do think Scott Snyder's done a few things that I think a lot of people will be like, I'm not going to use that version. I think they just take the aspect of Joker being super creepy and crazy from that run and they use it there. But,
yeah,
anyways, so we figure that out. And this guy's just so happy that his daughter's been returned to him. And he's like, even thanking Joker. He's like, oh my God, nobody wanted to help me, man. Thank you so much. You're a godsend, yada, yada, yada. And Joker ends up stabbing him. And the little girl's like, my daddy's all red. Like, what's happening? And I forgot what else he says. He's like, oh, you don't know yet because it's too early or whatever, but you will. And this balloon is like flying up to the sky. And the last panel is like, as the balloon disappears, the bat signal shows up. So I guess they know who Batman is at this point. So I guess they have to know who Batman is if the bat signal's a thing.
yeah.
So I'm curious on how this is going to play out. 4 issues. I wonder if it's going to be enough to tell this story. Because I feel like we're going to need to learn a lot more about where this Joker is, like what he's done, what Batman's done. But I don't know. Overall, I will say, I read this twice, and like the first time I was like, it was okay. But I think it's just a lot of building blocks right now. And we'll see what happens in the next issue. I am worried about 4 issues not being enough to tell this first interaction between Batman and Joker, you know? So
Yeah.
we'll see. But overall, I mean, it's Tom King, it's Batman. I'm down for it. It's better than what I'm getting in the main title. So that's all I go with.
That's true.
But yep, overall, I don't know if you got anything else to add to that, Clay. Anything else you liked from it, pulled from it?
I it kind of hints at like the idea of like this person dying from Joker. Because Gordon's like, how the hell is he smiling?
Yeah.
I wonder if King like brings that into it, like how he creates this like this thing that makes you smile after you die.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting story.
Mhm.
Um, just to add a certain aspect to Joker, not
Yeah.
necessarily like I need the background behind the laughing gas. Like it's like not really. It's
Yeah.
more so for the Joker character than it is the laughing gas or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but no, I think overall I think I enjoyed it. Uh I didn't enjoy it as much as I think I could have with
Mhm.
the amount of dialogue and the and like that one scene with the dude cussing a whole bunch. I think it was just a
Yeah.
little too much.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
real quick, just because you didn't read them, I want to go over just very, very quickly the Storm Watch story that's immediately after this is apparently the same people who wrote um, the Batman Incorporated stuff. So you have the Ghostmaker protege being a part of this team. You have
Mhm.
Ravager, and it's just another almost like Suicide Squad type of like team
Mhm.
without bombs in their heads. Peacekeeper 1 or Peacemaker, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I think I remember him.
Let me remember his name real quick. Hold on. It's they have like these little boxes that like show everybody's identity and names. He is Peacekeeper 1 from Tynan's run. He's a
Mhm.
part of that team. They're on this mission. Director Bones,
Yeah, I
old
saw that.
CEO of or director of the DEO.
Mhm.
He is now in charge of Stormwatch. Um, and you find out that he was actually involved in the threat that they're actually trying to save because they're like testing things out.
Mhm.
So a little interesting there. We have the Superman story that was very much in the same vein of like the old school, like for all seasons type of Superman. Don't know why it's in Batman Brave and the Bold. Like I can see why the Stormwatch was because it's incorporating characters from the Batman universe.
Yeah.
This Superman story, Overall, very bland, kind of boring. Kind of sucks, unfortunately.
Damn.
And then the Dan Mora story was not great. So just letting you guys know.
Tough. Yeah, so that's what we got going on there. This book is, I said Tom King, I believe it is 4 issues. Now, I'm curious because Tom King has mentioned that he's writing more of The Help. So I wonder if that's going to be a separate book or if he's going to show up in The Brave and the Bold. So, because I haven't seen him.
I think that would be pretty cool if he shows up in Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
So it's the early days of Batman.
Yeah. But I do think that it was the first time they met in the Killing Time. So does The Help have something to do with Joker? Granted, I don't like people doing that with Joker. I don't like people adding to Joker's origin or anything like pretty crazy. Like just do stuff with Joker. Let him be Joker. You don't need to add stuff. Fucking Zdarsky. Yeah. But yeah, that is basically all we got for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta try to edit this before we head out to go watch Fast X. But Clay, man, you got anything going on this week?
This week I do not have anything. I'm just gonna be catching up on a whole bunch of comics, reading some Star Wars stuff, and probably gonna try. I don't think I'm gonna speed run it. What I am gonna do is I'm actually gonna do a lot more exploring because I did try to go through the story of Jedi Survivor as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. I left a whole bunch of like unopened chests and like a lot of exploring on this planet. So I'm gonna go do that later this weekend.
Nice. Yeah, I am in the process. I've actually recorded one video for the new channel. I need to edit it. I have gotten a voiceover. I paid a voice actor to do a video, which voice acting is expensive.
God damn.
Yeah, I paid a voice actor to do a video thing, so I need to start editing that. And I've just been doing a bunch of other work for the channel, but I'm also like, the reason my voice is raspy is because I'm doing my actual editing job work, which I do voiceover stuff for them. And so I got a lot of work going on. But we will be streaming on Friday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have been doing random bonus streams, so you should definitely subscribe to the Twitch channel or my Juice from the Box reaction channel to catch the streams because we kind of just chat it up and stuff. And it's a good time. Been playing a lot of Fall Guys lately, so come by and hang out. But that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.